Hi there, I just thought I'd do a quick video about my diagnosis of my ankylosing spondylitis. So I'd like to talk to you about how I was diagnosed and what happened leading up to that diagnosis. I'd say I'd always led a relatively healthy life, never really had any problems apart from diagnosis of epilepsy in my mid-20s, but other than that, pretty healthy. I used to go to the gym, maintain a decent exercise regime outside of the gym as well. It was actually during my exercise regime that something went wrong back in 2013. I was doing some of my regular stretches, and when it came to working on my lower body and core, I was doing lunges. And as I lunged forward, there was a loud noise from what was around my sort of thigh area. It sounded like a snap, crackle and pop all rolled into one, kind of like a Rice Krispie. The best way to kind of describe the actual sound itself was if you get a stick and snap it underwater, that's kind of what it sounded like. It was more unnerving than anything else. I immediately stayed still, didn't move a little bit, and kind of lowered myself onto a chair. And I sat there and contemplated, should I move, shouldn't I move? I did move, and there was no pain initially, but something did feel out of place. I went to the GP and they let me know that I had a tear in my tendon or muscle within my thigh, and Julie sent me to physiotherapy. I walked for a limp for a while, and I just put that down to having that thigh injury, really. Several months later, fast forward to that point, I was still limping and started to have more and more increasing pain within my hip area. So I went to see an osteo to check me over, and the osteo let me know that my hip was misaligned, and he duly snapped me back into position. So I immediately thought, job done. It felt great, I must admit, and was great for a little while, but a few months later I was back there again with the same issue. This did go on for a couple of years and was starting to cause other issues such as broken sleep, which led to things like the fatigue and things like that. It wasn't until I went on holiday a couple of years after that I caught a parasite called Giardia lamblia. That's when the serious problems started to occur, and I knew something wasn't quite right. I was prescribed antibiotics to get rid of the parasite, which worked. Unfortunately, by that time, my immune system had kicked in fully. AS often needs a trigger within your body to start its attack on your own immune system. And for me, it seemed that the parasite was that trigger. Although there were symptoms, which I look back on now, that were present from the point that I had my thigh injury, between that point and the parasite, I didn't think there was a problem at the time. I just thought I was getting a little bit older and problems started to occur. For example, I was a goalkeeper in a football team around the corner, and I had a problem in my left thumb joint, just kind of around here. I put it down to constant, sort of catching of the ball, the ball hitting my hand at, quite a velocity basically, and quite a lot of power. So I just put it down to that. So I wore a splint whenever I played football. Stopped going in goal for a little while, and seemed to be okay, but then I go back and go bang, one hit and it was back again. So I just thought, okay, there's just something wrong with it. I've got to kind of live with it and get on with the rest of my life now. So it's the little things like that that I just didn't think that there was a serious problem with myself. So there was also a few other problems. The movement in my leg was starting to reduce. I had serious stomach issues. Not wanting to go into any detail there, but it wasn't pretty. and it all led up to an attack on my left hip or sacroiliac joint, which left me in just an immense amount of pain. Anybody that's had problems with the sacroiliac joint, sciatica, those sorts of things, will know what I'm talking about. It can be absolutely horrendous. So I had that, obviously went straight to the GP. GP referred me to the rheumatologist straight away, and they took blood samples there and then at the GP clinic. The bloods came back, confirmed inflammation within my system, so the next stage was the rheumatologist conducting things like MRIs and stuff like that to check on my spine and my hips and my struggle to bend down either side and forwards, and my posture is not great, especially around here. My spine curves quite a fair bit. They came back with a diagnosis of axial spondylitis in May 2017. So axial spondylitis is kind of like the broad name given for ankylosing spondylitis and things like that. After that, I tested positive for a gene called HLA-B27. The gene is present in the majority of patients with AS, although it doesn't necessarily mean that if you've got the gene, you're going to get AS, but most people with AS do have the gene. After diagnosis, I was prescribed different medication to, number one, reduce the inflammation, and number two, to slow the progression of the disease, so NSAIDs, biologics, those sorts of things. Unfortunately, it's no cure, but developments in biological medication are progressing all the time. So fingers crossed for a positive future. I now see my rheumatologist every few months with the GP checkups in between to ensure things like medication are working correctly, and I have regular contact with healthcare support professionals to help make sure I don't have any other peripheral problems, things like dare I say, mental health, those sorts of things. And then of course medication themselves can have further problems, further side effects, which you've got to keep an eye on and make sure that they are not causing further problems for you. So diagnosis was just the beginning of the journey for me, and I'll continue to work with my rheumatologist going forward. But if you're in the process of diagnosis, like I say, is be patient. Apparently the average time to be diagnosed is 8.5 years, so I guess I've been lucky in that sense, for me. But for anybody else, if you feel that you've got a problem, go to your GP, persist if you have to. But from my experiences, the NHS, the GP and the rheumatologist have been absolutely amazing. Diagnosis was pretty quick from the point that I saw that I had a problem. So I guess I'm lucky in that sense. So I hope this video has been informative. Please share your comments and stories of your diagnosis in the comments section below. And like I say, thanks for watching, and until next time, bye for now.